Hello and welcome. As we approach the end of the working week, let's take a moment to catch up on the latest news. Here's what's making headlines. The arrest of Prince Andrew, why the King finally abandoned him, and the secret Epstein evidence. The story of the British monarchy has always been one of secrets, power, and the protection of the crown. But on a cold morning on the 19th of February, the world witnessed something that many thought was impossible. For the first time in modern history, a senior member of the royal family was taken into police custody. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, who was once known to everyone as Prince Andrew, was arrested on his 66th birthday. This was not a sudden accident or a simple misunderstanding. It was the result of years of pressure, a massive release of secret files, and a final decision by his own brother, King Charles III, to let the law take its course. To understand why this happened, we have to look at the hidden details that the public is only just beginning to see. The arrest took place at the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk, a place where the royal family usually finds peace and privacy. But on this day, the peace was broken by the arrival of officers from the Thames Valley Police. They did not come for a royal visit. They came to arrest a man who had spent his entire life behind palace walls, protected by his title and his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II. The charge was serious: suspicion of misconduct in public office. This is a very old and powerful part of English law. It is used when someone who holds a public position is thought to have abused the trust of the people in a way that is criminal. In this case, the abuse of trust was linked to a name that has haunted the royal family for over a decade: Jeffrey Epstein. For a long time, the public knew that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was a friend of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. There were photos, there were flight logs, and there were many stories of their time together. But Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor always denied that he had done anything wrong. He claimed that he was just a friend and that he knew nothing about the terrible things Jeffrey Epstein was doing. However, in January 2026, millions of secret files belonging to Jeffrey Epstein were released to the public. These files were like a map of a hidden world, showing the connections between the rich and powerful and the crimes of a man who used his wealth to hurt others. It was in these files that the police found what they needed to finally act. The secret evidence in these files suggested that the relationship between Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Jeffrey Epstein was not just a social friendship. There were reports that confidential material, which Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor had access to because of his royal duties, had been shared with Jeffrey Epstein. This is where the legal term misconduct in public office becomes very important. As a prince and a representative of the United Kingdom, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor had a duty to protect the interests of the country. If he used that position to help a criminal like Jeffrey Epstein, or if he shared secrets that should have stayed within the palace, then he had broken the law. The police investigation, led by Assistant Chief Constable Wright, began to focus on these specific details. While the police were doing their work, another drama was happening inside the palace. King Charles III, who had been on the throne for a few years, was facing a very difficult choice. He had always tried to protect the reputation of the monarchy, and he knew that having his brother arrested would be a massive blow to the family. But he also knew that the public was tired of seeing the royals get special treatment. The relationship between the two brothers had been breaking down for a long time. There were reports that they had argued over Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's living arrangements at Royal Lodge and his refusal to step away from the public eye. When the new evidence from the Jeffrey Epstein files came to light, King Charles III realized that he could no longer protect his brother without hurting the crown itself. The king made a public statement that was short but very powerful. He said that he had learned of the news with the deepest concern. But the most important part of his message was when he said that the law must take its course. By saying this, King Charles III was telling the police and the public that he would not stand in the way of the investigation. He was withdrawing the protection of the palace and letting his brother face the legal system just like any other citizen.
I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, the authorities, have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. As this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further on this matter. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all.
This was the moment that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was truly abandoned by the family he had served his whole life. It was a clear signal that the era of royal protection was over. On the morning of the arrest, the police did not just take Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor into custody. They also began searching his homes. Officers were seen at Royal Lodge in Berkshire and at addresses in Norfolk. They were looking for more evidence, perhaps more documents or digital files that would prove the connection between the former prince and the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. The sight of police officers searching a royal residence was something that people in the UK had never seen before. It showed how serious the situation had become. The police stated that they were investigating the alleged sharing of confidential material, and they asked for the public to be careful with what they said because the case was now active in the courts. The legal process for misconduct in public office is very complex, but the basic idea is simple. It is about whether a person in power used that power for the wrong reasons. In the case of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the investigation is looking at whether he gave Jeffrey Epstein information that helped him in his criminal activities. This could include information about other powerful people, or it could be related to business deals and international relations. The key is that the information was supposed to be secret and was given to him because he was a member of the royal family. If the police can prove that he shared this material knowingly, he could face a very long time in prison. The timeline of what people are calling the most shocking day began early in the morning. While most people were just starting their day, the police were already moving into position. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was taken to a police station where he was questioned for several hours. He was eventually released on bail, but the investigation is far from over. The fact that this happened on his birthday made the story even more dramatic. It felt like a final ending to the life he had known. He was no longer a prince who could hide behind his title, he was a suspect in a criminal case, and his own brother had given the police the green light to take him. The implications for the future of the British monarchy are huge. King Charles III has shown that he is willing to make hard decisions to save the institution of the throne. He has chosen the law over his own family. This might help the public trust the monarchy more, as it shows that no one is above the law. But it also reveals how deep the problems within the family have been for many years. The shadow of Jeffrey Epstein has been over the royal family for a long time, and this arrest is the first real step towards clearing that shadow, even if it means losing a member of the family in the process. As the investigation continues, more details are likely to come out from the millions of files that were released. These files do not just talk about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, they talk about a whole network of people who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein. The police are specializing in following the money and the information that moved through this network. They are looking for anyone else who might have broken the law. For Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the road ahead is very dark. He has lost his titles, his protection, and now his freedom might be next. The story of the prince who thought he was untouchable has become a cautionary tale for everyone in power. The public reaction in the UK has been a mix of shock and a feeling that justice is finally being done. Many people have been calling for an investigation like this for years. They felt that the royal family was protecting one of their own while the victims of Jeffrey Epstein were ignored. Now, they see that the system can work, even against the most powerful people. The image of the monarchy has changed forever. It is no longer a fairy tale, it is a real-world institution that has to follow the same rules as everyone else. This story is a reminder that the truth always finds a way out, no matter how much power someone has to hide it. The secret files of Jeffrey Epstein were the key that opened the door to the palace, and the king's statement was the final push that sent his brother through that door. As we wait for the next steps in this investigation, we have to ask ourselves what other secrets are still hidden behind the walls of the world's most famous palaces. The arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is not just the end of a prince's career, it is the beginning of a new chapter for the British monarchy, where accountability is more important than blood. What do you think about the king's decision to let his brother face the law alone? Do you believe that this arrest will finally bring justice to the victims of the Epstein scandal, or is there still more that the royal family is hiding from the public? Please leave a comment below with your thoughts, as your opinion is very important to this ongoing investigation and we want to hear what you have to say about this historic moment for the United Kingdom. That concludes our news for this business week. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you a truly exciting and adventurous weekend. Please share your thoughts in the comments section, we value your opinions and read them all. We'll be back with more news tomorrow.